Hello friends, today in this tutorial we will basically build a complete project inside React.js with the help of Context API. So Context API basically it's a way by which we can store global state inside our React.js application. We will also be using useContext hook, and this will be a complete CRUD kind of an application where we will be displaying the records in a Bootstrap table with the help of the React Bootstrap library. So this is basically the demo of the application we are seeing right here. If you go to localhost 5173, let me just run this application. Let me just go to my directory here. This is my directory, guys. You will see that I am basically building this inside my Vite application. Vite is basically a module bundler. So the command is really simple. I will just start this npm run dev. This will start this application on this port number, which is localhost 5173. You will see it has started this application localhost 5173. If I refresh now, you will see your application will be started. And this is basically we have a simple form, guys. We have two input fields, name and age. If I write something inside name and age, click on add user, you will see your record will be added here, and we will go have this primary key, which is ID here. We have the name, age, and we have two buttons out there basically to edit this information, edit this record and delete this. Let me add one other record here. Click on add user. You will see that basically it will add this information inside this. You can just zoom out here, and let's suppose I have some more information. So Tim, and so let's suppose I want to delete information. I will click on the delete button. You will see the information will be deleted. And now if I wanted to update any of this rows, I can click on this edit user button. So you will see automatically the information will be pulled in, which is the name is Smith here and age is 27. So you can change this name here. You can say Smith. You can change the name, click on update user. You will see your name will be updated here. So this is all we are doing it using Context API, guys, using used context hook. And if I wanted to change the age here of this to 100 and click on update, you will see your age will be changed here from 35 to 100. This is basically all the 4 operations we are performing, guys. We are basically showing the records in a table. We are editing the records. We are also deleting the records as well. You will see, click on delete, all the records will be deleted. So basically, guys, we are using Context API for this purpose here. I will be showing you from scratch how to do this process, and all the source code of this application will be given in the description of this live stream. So whenever this live stream ends, I will give all the source code in the description of this live stream, so you can get all the source code by going to the video description. So now let's get started, guys, by building this application. So the very first thing we will do, guys, we will first of all understand the dependencies which are required for this application. So first of all, we will be, as I already told you, we will be using a technology called as Vite.js. Vite basically, guys, is a module bundler, something similar to Webpack, Parcel, or Browserify. So it's a next generation front-end tooling, and it's open source, and basically it speeds up the process of generating the projects of React.js, Vue.js. You can use this with any technology, JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript, Angular, React.js, Vue.js. We will be basically doing this. They have their own official website. You need to go to guide here, and simply they have the commands here. You need to execute this command here. So now let's get started, guys, and I will start from scratch. So let me just stop this application which is running right here and start from scratch. So here what I will do is that I will basically create a new project. So here I will go into my directory, and inside my projects I will create a new folder which will be I will call this as context project. I will cd into this and open this inside the Visual Studio Code text editor. So you will see guys, we have a simple directory here. And if you go to Vite.js guys, this is basically the command here, which is npm create Vite@latest. So you just need to execute this command guys. So which is npm create and Vite @latest. So now it will ask some information about the project guys that we need to create. It will first of all ask for the project name. So let me call this as context API project. And then you need to select the framework guys. There are various options: vanilla JavaScript, Vue.js, React.js, Preact, Lit, Svelte and others. You will select here React, and then it will give you choices. Either you want to build it with JavaScript or TypeScript. I want to build it with JavaScript. And then automatically you need to execute these three commands. You need to first of all go into the projects folder, which is context API project, and then we will need to install the dependencies. So let me just go into the folder, and then we need to simply install the dependencies. So it will take very less time guys as compared to npx create React tab. You will see how fastly all the dependencies are installed here. This is basically the power. You will see automatically my React.js project is created. This is 100 times faster as compared to the regular command that you use. Now we simply need to start the server. So you will see npm run dev. You will see a server is started here at port number 5173. And basically if you go to the basic server which is created by this, you will see this is your application which is created guys automatically. So there is a button out there, count button. If you click it, automatically the value will change. So you will see that guys, this is a fantastic technology module bundler which is Vite. Definitely you should build your projects using this technology. Don't use the previous old commands, which is npx create React app. That command takes a lot of time while building a basic React.js project. So Vite makes it very much easier. So now we will basically get started guys. Look at the directory structure. This is basically the directory structure of your application guys. You will see that it contains this additional file guys, vite.config.js. Basically it contains the Vite module bundler. So this is just a configuration file. Apart from that, we have the source folder, and inside this we have the app.jsx folder. This is the actual app that you see right here. Let me just delete all this stuff and replace here hello world. So that's all. We don't need this stuff also. So simply delete all that. So if you now refresh guys, you will see, if you just refresh your application. So just refresh here, you will see now hello world is seen here, right here. We also have the default styling guys, app.css. We also don't need this, so you delete this styling as well. And index.css is also, so simply delete this. And inside main.jsx you see right here, these are the files here. So now we will come to the topic guys. So we need to install one other dependency for this project, which is npmi react bootstrap. So we will be making use of Bootstrap guys for building this application. So install this react-bootstrap. This is basically a library in order to use Bootstrap inside React. This is the official website of React Bootstrap. So it contains a lot of pre-built components for you for Bootstrap, so that you can use it inside your React.js application. So we will be using the table component and the form component. So after it is installed guys, you will see that inside your package.json file, you will see that React Bootstrap is installed. Now we need to go to our first of all, I will explain you guys the concept of context API, how we can create a basic context. So npm run dev, let me start the dev server. You will see the server has started. So first of all guys, we will look at how to create a basic context global state inside our React.js application and then consume it using useContext. So for that guys, we need to follow 3 steps. First of all, we need to create a context. For creating the context, you can follow any approach. You can write all the code in a single file, but I will split it into multiple files. So here we will create a context folder, and inside this context folder we will basically create our file which is called as useContext.jsx. You can call this file anything, but I will call this as JSX just to do it. So here we will basically create, in order to create, we will write export const so that we can export this variable into multiple files, and here we will create a new context here, user context. You can call this as anything, and then we will create use this method, guys, which is called as create context. It will automatically, will see automatically this will be imported from React here, and here we will simply pass here null. This is not mandatory. If you don't pass it, then also it will work, so just pass it for the. This is the first step, guys. In order to use context API, you need to create a context by using this function create context, and then we are exporting this so that we can include it in our provider. So now the second step, guys, is we need to create a provider folder. Provider is simply, we need to, I will show you guys, just follow these steps. Next step is that we need to create a provider folder, and then inside the provider folder, guys, we need to create a file similar to this. Naming convention will be same here, which is user provider.jsx. that's all. So inside this file, guys, what we need to say is that we will basically have to again create our export const. This time this will be a functional component. We will call this as user provider, and basically here this is basically, you can see it's a functional component, and right here, guys, we need to destructuring. We will need to use destructuring here, and this time this is basically, it is passed here props like this, but we need to destructure it. We need to extract the children from it like this. So here inside this we will basically write like the return. This is a functional component, and right here inside the return statement, guys, what we need to do is that we need to write here user provider. We need to basically user provider, and it basically contains sorry, this is not user provider, this is user context. So we have created this context, guys, in the separate file. You will see /context/user context. In the previous step, we created this context using this method called as create context, and now we are importing it user context, and it contains this three methods, guys. If you see consumer, provider, this time we need to use the provider method like this, and inside this we need to wrap, we need to provide here inside curly brackets, we need to write here children. That's all. And now, guys, this basically takes a value called as value, and here you can provide any data that you want to set as a global state. So we will basically set, I will show you for a very simple example, a global state here, global state for our React.js application. So let me set a title variable here. This will be a title variable, the name of the applications, let me say sample CRUD app. So let's suppose we want to transfer this title variable so that all the components which are using this application will be able to use this title global state, and here we can simply pass this variable like this title. That's all. So now to enable this app component, guys, to use this title variable which we declared right here, how we can do that? It's very easy. We need to, either we can go to main.jsx, guys. Here we can basically include our provider class, or we can go to app.jsx. Totally depends upon you where we do need to say. So here we can simply create another component, guys, which is called as users.jsx, and here this will be a functional component. So you can see we are users, so we can include this component inside app.jsx. So here we can say users like this. You will see automatically this is added from import users. So let's suppose we want to use this title variable that we declared inside our user provider right here. So we cannot directly use it right here. If I try to basically print the title variable here, I can't do it because there will be an error which will be taking place. If you go to your local host 5173, there will be an error. If I try to refresh this application, you will see your application will not work. So now to access this title variable right here, guys, what we can do is that we can simply say here inside our app.jsx, we can surround this user provider. Instead of this div tag, we can simply say user provider, and we can wrap all this tag here like this. You can see automatically user provider is imported from the provider folder and then user provider. And here we can simply wrap this here user provider. That's all. So this simply is saying that whatever state, whatever data that you have declared inside your provider, this can be multiple variables, multiple methods. All of the data that you declare for your React.js application will be accessible to all the components that are inheriting it. So you can declare here multiple components. So let's suppose your application contains thousands and millions of components. Let's suppose you are building a social media website or any sort of Facebook clone, Instagram clone. In that application, you will be having a lot of components. So whatever components which is declared inside this children, it will be able to access those. So now how to access those, guys? So now we need to go to users.jsx. If you just refresh your application, you will simply see here which is users printed out right here. So how to access this variable which is title? So we can simply say here, now to access that we can simply say let, and inside this destructuring it, we will basically use it like this. And here we will simply use the context hook, guys, use context. We will import this from React.js. You will see use context, and simply here we will basically say whatever context that you want to use. So we have already declared the context, guys, which is user context. That's why we declared in multiple files, so that whatever component want to use this data which is provided inside user provider, they can simply pass the user context. So here we can simply pass the user context here, user context. It will be imported from the context file, context folder, and then user context. So here we can destructure the whatever data that you want to use. So we need to only use the title here. So this is the only property which is declared right here. So we can simply pass some, let's suppose we have the description as well. This is the description. So let's suppose, guys, we are also passing multiple values. So we can put a comma here, and then we can pass description, title, comma, description. So it is saying that JSX expression may not use the comma operator, or you can just write like this. Again, inside double curly brackets. So just pass double curly brackets in order to pass multiple variables. So title, comma, description. So this is valid JSX expression. So now we are passing these two variables, guys. So what we can do is that inside users, we can destructure it, title, comma, description. So now we can simply print out, we can say the title is, and then we can print out the title, and then in the second one, we can simply say the description is, so we can put a break tag here. The description is, so if you now print it, guys, you can see that the title is sample CRUD app and the description is, this is a description. So you can see how easy it is to access the data which is declared in a global state, guys. So this makes it very much easy. We no longer have to pass the properties inside the props variable every time you need to pass some kind of data. So this makes the transfer of data way easier. This context API, we just need to declare all the data in a one file, which is the user provider, your provider class. functional component. So here you can create any, so you can even create methods as well here. Let's suppose I declared a method which is const. Let's suppose we can declare a variable or print hello world. This is name of the function. So this is a arrow function, and inside this whatever we are saying a alert statement hi world. So now to transfer this method, guys, what we can say, we can simply pass like this a simple here comma and then print hello world. That's all. We are simply passing it as a variable. This time this is a function, not a variable. So now what we can do inside users here, we can simply have a button here, and we can basically, whenever we click this button, so we can say click. So once we click this button, guys, what should happen? We need to basically execute that function. So we can say print hello world. This is the function that we need to execute, so we can destructure it. So we can simply execute this function print hello world. So if you try to basically see, I think this is a function, so we need to execute like this. Or what we can say is that we can simply say handle click. Let me just define that. So this is a function which will get executed, guys. If you just refresh your application, let me see what is happening right here. It is saying that button is not defined. Okay, this needs to be button, sorry. So now if you click the button, guys, nothing will happen because we haven't written the code here. We need to simply execute this function that we have extracted from the provider here. You will see print hello world. So what we can say, we can simply call this function print hello world. You will see that as I click this button here, our alert statement will be executed. Why it is executing it? Because we are basically using this method here. We are calling this. So whenever we call this method print hello world, so this definition executes. So here alert statement is executing. So we can pass variables, we can pass methods also inside our context API. Right here I have shown you the example, guys. So we will use the same concept, and we will be using our how to build a CRUD application using Bootstrap table. So now let's get started by building that application. So now let me delete all this stuff here and start from scratch. So this file will be the same here. We no longer have these values. So inside our users file, let me delete all that and start from scratch. So first of all, guys, what we need to say, we will basically build out our application. We will import the Bootstrap file, Bootstrap CSS. So we will say Bootstrap /dist folder CSS Bootstrap min.css. So you need to import the CSS file for the React Bootstrap. And inside this, we will basically have a simple form here. Instead of div, we will basically use the container tab here. So this container, guys, which is, I think it's available from React Bootstrap. So you need to simply say React Bootstrap, and it contains this container element. And inside the container element, guys, we will basically give a class name. This is Bootstrap class, which is text center. We will simply say which is React.js context API CRUD. That's all. So if you refresh your application, it is saying that, let me just refresh your application, npm run dev. I think some error has taken place. Let me check. import Bootstrap failed to resolve import. Let me see guys why it is taking this error. Just check guys if you have installed this dependency inside your package.json file. React Bootstrap, if you have installed it. So this is app.jsx and then we have users.jsx. Let me close the previous app here. So we have this, so let me start this npm run dev. So it is saying that failed to resolve import bootstrap dist css bootstrap main.css from user. Okay, sorry. Here guys, I forgot to tell you, we have installed this React Bootstrap, but we also need to install the Bootstrap module as well. So also install the Bootstrap module as well guys. So just install this React Bootstrap and also the Bootstrap module as well. So both these dependencies are needed here. So that's why this error was taking place. So now if you run this npm run dev, this application will perfectly run here, which is, you can see that. If you refresh now, React.js context API CRUD. So you just also need to install that Bootstrap dependency as well for the CSS. That's all. And after this guys, what we need to do is that basically here we will have a simple form element. And inside the form element guys, basically we will have a form group. These are all Bootstrap elements. And for this we need to import some dependencies here. We will need the form module, we also need the button, and also we need the table. So all these will be required here. And inside the form group we will basically have the form label, which is form.label, and we can say name here. So if you refresh, we will basically have this name, and then we will basically use the form.control class, and here basically here we will, this doesn't have the close tag, so you just need to write like this. So here we will basically have the type parameter to text. So here we will write the placeholder, just say enter name, and this will be required. That's all. So if you see, the user can enter here name like this. And similarly, we can repeat this form group for the second time. We can say form label, we can repeat. So here we can replace age. So this will be a number, so type will be number, and here we will say enter age. So we have name and age, and then we will basically have a simple button to, so we will have the break tag, and then we will basically have the button to say add user. you will see that add user, and this button will be of type submit. That's all. So we have a basic form, guys, where we allow the user to enter the name and the age. But first of all, we will go to our user provider, and here, guys, we will need to declare the state of the application, the global state. So here we will define the global state, guys. So this will be a user list, users.setUser. So we will use the useState hook, guys. So this will automatically be imported right here at the top from React. So this will be an empty list, empty array of objects whenever we load this. And for example, we can even define this early on. We can define a list here, list of objects. So each object will have two properties, name and age. You can also have more properties, totally depends upon you. Age will be a number. So like this we can declare here. We can simply copy 4 more times. So you can change the name here. We can say here 45. We can say here 55 in so we have 4 users out there, guys. So now let's suppose if I want to display this inside our application in a table, what we can say, we can pass the users property right here. So here whatever we are passing right here, inside our value we can simply pass users. So as you can see, it's an array of objects we are passing right here. So inside our components users.jsx, we need to get this value. So we will simply say, we will use the useContext hook, and here we will pass the hook that we want to use, which is userContext. userContext will be automatically be imported, and right here we need to use the users property, which is a array of object. So now to display these users, guys, we will simply use a Bootstrap table. This is very much easy in order to display these records out there in a table. So just after your form ends here, we will simply have a Bootstrap table. So we will give some class to it, striped border. These are attributes, and hover. You can check out the documentation. All these attributes are of React Bootstrap. So then inside this we will basically have the name and the age for now. So name, age will be there, and then we will have the table body, and inside this curly brackets, guys, we will have this property which is users, and here we will use the, if the users exist, in that case we will simply say users.map, and here we will say u, and we will simply use this map operator to simply loop through the array of objects. So here we will simply have tr tag, and inside this we will display first of all the u.name property, and then we will display the u.age. That's all inside the curly brackets. So this will dynamically loop through the list here, guys, which is name, age. It will basically print the name and the age. If you check right here, guys, you will see, guys, what we have successfully printed out the list right here. You will see this is John, Smith, Jim, Doe. These are the names and these are the age, 25, 45, 55, 34. And now we need to basically, if I enter these values, I need to add a user and display automatically. I need to update this list using context API. So how we can achieve this? It's very easy. So what we can say is that we can define a function right here. We can also say we don't need to have 4 users. For now we will only have 1 user. So if I refresh right here, you will see only 1 user will be there, John 25, when we load the application. So we are not storing this data in a database, so every time you refresh the application, all the data will be gone. So you can even connect this to a database as well, so to store your information. So right here guys, we will basically define a function which will basically be, if you see, we need to define a function right here which is add user. Simply we will define this function which is add user. So the name suggests what it will do. It will take a user and then it will simply add this to this list here, which we have the current list, which is only having 1 object. So how to do this? It's very simple guys. We will use this function which is set users, which is the useState function, which is set users, and inside this we will simply use the ternary operator, which is the spread operator. We will use inside square brackets dot dot dot. So this will copy the previous, all the objects which are previously present. We will pass users and then put a comma, and then we will simply concatenate and add the newly passed object. Simply we will pass here user. So these 3 operator, which is called as spread operator, basically it's a technique by which we can concatenate 2 different objects and merge it into a third array. So this is spread operator. So now we can pass this add user function guys from the context API. So we will say add user, that's all. So now we can consume this method inside our users component. So right here we will basically, inside our form element, we will bind a simple event handler. So right here inside the form we will bind a on submit. So whenever you submit your form guys, this function will execute, which is called as handle users. You can call this as anything, but I will call this as handle users. So now we need to simply define this function guys, which is handle users. E parameter will automatically gets passed, which is the event parameter. We need to call this parameter, which is e.prevent default, which will prevent the auto submission of the form here, e.prevent default. And then we also need to put a comma, add user. We need to extract this method which we are passing right here. So right here guys, we also need to declare our state variables, which is necessary here also. So first 2 variables we are wanted to get is the reference variables, which will be name ref. So we will use the useRef hook for this. So we will automatically use hook will be imported. So initial value will be null, and similarly for the age as well, age ref, useRef. So the users of using this ref variables guys, we will able to clear out the input field whenever we are submitting the form. So we just need to assign this using right here to the controllers. So we will have the ref operator, and here we will assign name ref. Similarly we can assign it to the age ref as well, which is age ref. That's all. So after this guys, we also need to add a on change event handler. So whenever your value is changed inside this input field, so whenever you are trying to edit this value, we will also be attaching a on change. So this function will automatically execute. We will write the inline function. We will simply say, for this we need to declare 2 state variables here, which is the name. We will say set name, useState will be null, and similarly we will have for the age as well, age comma set age. So initial value will be null, like this. You will see that We will declaring the set name and the set age functions. So here we will use these functions, set name, set age. So we will simply say here set age. We will say e.target.value. That's all. So whatever value the user will write, it will get stored inside the age variable. We are using the set age method. Sorry, this needs to be set name, not set. Similar thing, we can repeat this here also. On change, we can say set age e.target.value. That's all. So we have attached the on change event handler, guys. You will see right here. We are also attached here also. Now when we submit your form, this function will execute, which is handle users. So here we are automatically preventing the auto submission of the form. And after this, guys, what we need to do right here, we need to create the ID. So for creating the ID unique every time, we will use this function, which is date.now, which will actually get the current date and timestamp. It will always be unique. So that's why we are creating the ID like this. And then we will create the object, which will contain three properties: ID, name, and age. And then we will concatenate this by using this function that we inherited from the context API. You can see add user. And here we will pass this object, which is user. So whenever we call this method, guys, add user, it will internally call this method that we declared, add user. This user will pass right here and set, and this list will be updated. So this users will get one other object. So what we can do is that we can delete this list here. So every time when you load the application, this list will be empty right here. So after we do this, we just need to say nameref.currentValue. Let me just don't do this. So just refresh your application. So you can see that, guys, nothing is present right here. And now let me write this something. Let me enter the name and age. Click on add user. You will see that, guys, automatically as I am clicking add user, it is basically adding all the list here. It is adding this. You will see if I again refresh, it will be empty right here. If I enter the name, enter the age, click on this button, it will the list will get updated. So our add operation is perfectly working, guys. Basically it is calling this method, which we have defined it in the provider class. So we are passing this method here and we are calling it. And one more thing, guys, we do need to say, whenever we click this add user button, auto validation is also there. Please fill out this field. And once I click this button, I need to clear out this. So that's why we use the useRef hook, guys, early on that I showed you. That's why we use this nameref and the ageref. So we can simply now say here nameref.current.value. We can say is equal to nothing, and similarly ageref.current.value to nothing. This will actually reset the field after we basically submit the form. So if I enter something here, you will see your name and age field will be empty. This is quite good for the user experience of the user. So now the thing is that our add operation is working. Now we need two more buttons, which is the delete button and the edit button. So first we will tackle the delete operation, guys. Delete is very much easy. So what we can say here, we can add a button right here, which is for the delete button. So deleting a record, delete user. So right here, guys, we will basically add this button inside TD tag. So we will say that delete user. So once basically, guys, if you see, our delete button will be added for every record out there. You will see delete button is added here, delete user. So once I need to click this button, guys, I need to delete this record. So for doing this, it's very easy. We need to basically add a operation which is inside user provider. We will declare this delete user method, and we inside this, guys, we will take the actual ID of the user that we want to delete. So inside this method, guys, what we will do, after we take the ID of the user that we need to delete, we will actually make use of this method of this hook, which is set users, that we declared, which is set user. And here we will basically use the filter method, users.filter. This is a vanilla JavaScript method, guys, ES6 method. And here we will simply pass check for every user, and here we will simply compare if user.id is not equal to the past ID. That's all. So basically it will filter out all the users which doesn't have this past ID. So indirectly we are deleting this record right here with the help of this line. That's all. This is all that you need to do for the delete operation. So we can export this method. We can say delete user. That's all. And now inside users.jsx, it's very simple. We just need to import this method, destructure it, delete user. So right here we can directly say on click. So once we click this button, we will basically execute this method, guys, delete user, and here we will pass the actual ID. So ID will be something here, guys. You will see that we will need to pass the ID here. So ID will be accessed using u.id. That's all. So we are passing the ID to this function here, delete user. So if you just refresh your application here, and if I try to basically enter the name here, try John, and try to enter the age here, click on add user. Let me add one other user, and now we click the delete user button. You will see that as I click the delete button, the record will be deleted here. So you can see only Smith is present, John record was deleted. So this delete operation is very easy. It was just one line of code that we written and the record was deleted. So now we will tackle the update operation. So similarly to the delete button, we will also have a edit button. So once we click the edit button, the record will be there inside the form, so we can update that record. So for that we need to first of all add that edit button right here. So inside the table we will simply have another table heading here, so which will say edit user. So inside this we will simply say edit user. You will see one other button will be added here, edit user right here. So this is slightly tricky, guys, edit user operation, because we do need to show the form instead of a single operation. Once we click this button, we need to pull off all the entries, which is the name and the age, and we need to show it inside name and age. So slightly pay attention for this. So here we need to simply have some more state variables inside our component, user component. So here at the top we will declare a boolean parameter. So this boolean parameter, you can call this as anything, but I will call that update, and set update, and initial value will be false. So whenever edit button will be clicked, guys, we will change this value from false to true, because as the user click the edit button, we will be sure that the user wants to perform the update operation. So that's why we will change this value from false to true. So how we can do that? It's very easy. We need to basically assign a on click to this edit user. So we can say on click, and here we will simply say a function which will execute, which is handle edit. So here we need to execute this method, which is handle edit. Just make this method handle edit. So right here, guys, inside this, we will basically here change this value from false to true. We will use the hook method, which is set update. We will pass here instead of false to true. So here we will make use of this condition, guys, which is the true condition. So how we can do that? It's very simple. Just after the heading here, we will basically have a curly bracket, and then we will simply have to write some JSX. So inside curly brackets, we will have update. So this simply means that if the value of update is true, in that case, we just need to execute some code. So we will use a ternary operator here, which is this one. You will probably know this ternary operator, and then we need to put a colon, and then the code, which is if the value is false. So here, let me say this is the update operation. And here you need to write the code, guys, if update value is false. So here we just need to transfer all this code that you for the update add operation. Just copy this whole code here and simply paste it right inside this condition. Indirectly, we are saying that if the value of the update variable is false, then we will be showing the add user form, and if the update value is true, in that case we will be showing the update form. So we will toggle in between the add user and the update user form. If you just refresh right here, the value of the update variable is false. As you can see, we have set this value, default value is false. So because your add user form is showing. So let's suppose if I enter some value. So as soon as I click the edit user button, guys, you will see the value of the update variable will change from true to false. Sorry, from false to true, and then that condition will evaluate to true, and this value will change. This is the update operation. So similarly, guys, we need to, instead of this, we need to show the update form to the user. So this is very easy. We will simply copy all this code right here that you see right here, and we will simply change the button here. This button will, instead of add user, this will be update user, and the rest of all the things will be very constant. And this on submit here will be handle update. We need to define this method, guys, which is handle update. So e parameter automatically gets passed. We need to prevent the auto submission of the form, so e.prevent default. So now, guys, instead of, we can't access using set name. If you do like this will get error. If you see, if I enter the details here, if I click edit user, you will see update user form will be shown right here. Now I need to pull the details of the current user, which is the name and the age, right here automatically inside this name and the age. So how we can do that? It's very easy. First of all, what we need to do, we need to declare two state variables, which will be for the current user and the current age. So we will say current user, sorry, this current name, set current name, initial value will be null. Similarly, we will have current age, set current age. We will also be having the variable for the ID as well, guys. current ID of the user and set current ID. So we have declared these 3 state variable guys using the useState hook for storing the current ID of the user, current name and the current age. So whichever user that you want to edit or update, so the details will be stored inside these 3 state variables. Currently if you load the application, these will be null. So similarly right here we need to say here, instead of set name we need to say set current name. We need to use like this: set current name e.target.value and set current age e.target.value. And after this guys, what we need to do is that if you just refresh here, click on edit user. Now to basically fetch all the name and the age guys, what we can do right here, it's very simple. What we need to do right here, we need to set these values guys that you see right here. We need to, because initially if you see right here, these values are null, which is set current ID, set current name and the set current age. So once we click the edit button guys, if you see right here, once we click this button that you see right here inside the table, which is handle edit. So once we click this button, we need to pass the actual user which the current user is. So you can see we can access this user inside this u variable. This is the actual current user. We are printing the values name, age. So what we can do is that we can simply pass this value right here inside this, the actual user which is passed right. We can simply pass the whole user right here. We are passing it to the handle edit function. So right here we can go to handle edit, we can pass the current user, and after this we can set all these values. So set current ID will be user.id, set current name will be our user.name, and similarly for the age as well. So set current age will be user.age. So just after writing these 3 lines of code guys, if you just now refresh your application, so as you click the edit user button guys, nothing will happen. Why nothing has happened guys? We also need to set the current value for the name ref as well. So we will make use of this name ref variable guys, which is name ref current dot value. We need to set these user dot name, age ref current dot value, age dot name. So if you just write these 2 lines, because we have attached this name ref and age ref to this also, which is, this is a name ref using this, and also here also. So if you just refresh now, click on edit user, automatically you will see age is not pulling in. Let me see what is the error. Age dot, sorry, this needs to be user dot age, not. So if you see, click on edit, you will see, as you click the edit user, the details of the active user will be automatically pulled in. Now we can change the name and change the age. Click on update user, and now we need to write the logic. So once I change the values, once I click the update user button, I need to change these values and reflect right here also. So after we do that guys, we need to call a simple method inside handle update. We are calling this handle update. As I submit the form here, this function will execute. After preventing the auto submission of the form, we need to call that we need to define a function, guys, right here, which is update user. This function, guys, which will take three values, the ID, name, and the age. So right here, this function will be tricky. ID, it will take ID of the user, name of the user, and the age. And inside this, we will basically write the logic, guys, for updating the user. We will use again, we will first of all find the user which is affected right here, which is using the map operator. And here we will have a simple if condition. We will simply say if the user dot ID, and we will have triple equal to, and here if the user is equal to the past ID, in that case we will simply return the user here, return curly bracket, and here we will copy all the data of the user, and simply we will say comma, name is equal to the actual name which is passed, and then the age which is actual age right here. You will see that. So what it is saying that, guys, first of all we are finding out the current user which is affected. We are comparing the ID which is passed here right here to the user ID, and then we are updating the details of that user, dot 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 user. This will get all the information about that user, and then we will pass these values, name and age. That's all. And after this, guys, we will simply return that user. That's all. And then we will set the user, set users, and here we will pass affected user. That's all. So that's all that you need to do right here, guys. So after you define this, we just need to pass this update user method right here. And now we can access this method, guys. We can say comma update user. So here we can simply call this method, guys, which is update user. And here we can simply pass the current ID, current name, and the current age. That's all. So if you just refresh your application now, guys, if you try to basically update a user detail, let's suppose we have John 25, click on add user, Smith. So if I try to basically now click on edit user, automatically details will be prefetched. If I try to change the name, you will see the name will be changed. If I try to basically change the age will be changed and it is reflected back. If I try to edit this record, if I try to say John, you will see that. If I try to change the age, and now we also need to clear out the values as well, guys, and also show once we click the update user, I need to go back to the add user button. So how we can do that? We can simply say after this, we can just say set current ID to null. We can reset all the values by using this syntax, set current age to null. Set name to null, set age to null, and we will simply say set update to false. So this way it will show the add user form, and then we will simply remove the value which is name, reset the values. So we will say age ref current value to nothing. So that's all that you need to do, guys. This application is complete now, and if you try to refresh it, if I try to click on edit user, try to change the details, you will see now the add user button is showing right here. You will see that. If I try to change the age right here, you will see that. Click on delete, the user is deleted. So this is basically your context API, guys, CRUD application which is completed. We are showing it inside Bootstrap table. This is really easy. We can basically pass any sort of variables, methods from our context API. We can see the code looks very clean. We don't need to rely on passing the data using props inside React.js. This is context API from scratch. I have illustrated to you. We require a single file where we declare our global state, all the variables, all the methods that you use for your application. So all the components can consume these global state by declaring it in a single file, and then you just need to surround this using your provider tag right here, user provider. So it can contain multiple of components which can consume your data. So that's all, guys. The source code will be given in the description of the video. So you can consume that source code by going to the description of the video. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I will be seeing you in the next live stream.